Hello, this is Dr. Garrett Castleberry, Program Director for Communication, Media, and Ethics here at Mid-America Christian University. I am here with our Week 3 video lecture. It is a Q&A dialogue, part of our ongoing asynchronous dialogue series where students submit questions from the readings and we explore the concepts, theories, and content together, or as close as we can together in a fashion that allows multiple viewings, future viewings, sharings, bring it all in. Let's get everybody rolling. I do have some liquid courage today. And by that I mean the dean across the hall brewed a fresh pot of organic coffee. So I was so excited about that. I had the pre-coffee jitters. I don't know if that's something you've had before, but I highly recommend it. So I'll pause, or you can rather pause the video and go make yourself something warm, settle in, get ready. We are going to get to some questions this week, and based on last time, I know we had to cut things short right when they were white hot, but we are going to make sure and go through questions submitted in reverse order from how they unfold out of the Dropbox. And so with that said, let me jump into questions, starting with some from Aaron. Okay, and so we're looking at several texts in conversation, I guess I should say, before we get started. We're going to pull numerous questions that deal with Jason Mittell's Complex TV, the poetics of storytelling, the poetics of contemporary television storytelling. We are also looking at Mittell's television and American culture, and it's a bit of a Mittell fest, as well as, well, let's see, where did that other book go? It's around here somewhere. Ethan Thompson and Jason Mittell's How to Watch TV. We have a single reading that came from that this week, as well as some additional content. But week 3 centers on a combination of emphases. We're looking and reading about children's programming, and we are also having conversations about even adult animation, right? This sort of cartoons for grown-ups genre, typically within the comedy genre, but as some of you are finding through your own screenings and research, some of these can have some dramatic elements to them that perhaps make them that much more poignant. In any event, our chronology, meanwhile, looking through media history through the singular medium lens of television, takes us through the 80s, and so we have all these converging strands that we're carrying through, so the questions are coming from those different directions this week. Some outside screenings. We had some nice pop flight questions come in about those screenings, so it gives us plenty to talk about outside of the Mittell studies, as we might call this course at times, which is apropos for week 3, since Mittell, very prominent toy manufacturer, no relation, that had a role in this cultural history of material artifacts that sometimes are synergistically playing into the motives behind animated programming. So back to the questions. Let's jump right in and look at what Erin has in her mind. So she starts off with the Phineas and Ferb excerpt from How to Watch TV, and in an absolute coincidence, this chapter, when I was developing a course week on animation, this chapter came to mind as something I wanted to include as a secondary reading, and then kind of dug through the edited anthology to locate that chapter, and lo and behold, it happens to also be written by Jason Mattel. So we just can't escape him. He's caught us in his scholarly web, if you will, and we are making some sense there, and then that's going to tie into a question that comes up from one of our students that we will get to down the road here in this week 3 journey. So, on the topic of Phineas and Ferb, as mentioned on page 5, or page 5 of the PDF, each genre in each branch of media has trashy or lowbrow selections, okay? So why do you think television has been labeled a quote-unquote vast wasteland? Of the group, this term definitely struck a chord with a number of our students this week. So that's exciting. Anytime, I think, as writers, as scholars, as public intellectuals, as critics, TV critics, media critics, anytime we can add to a conversation or create or stimulate discussion through our words, through our word choice, we are doing something positive to that equation. And so keep that in mind as a little aside when we shift into the final weeks of the course and you work on that television studies project, that written original analysis, okay, this research paper, and think about word choice. That's going to be really important to help guide the direction you want to take. And I think our texts this short course give us a healthy dose of a number of interesting terms, but the reference to television as a vast wasteland, understand this. I'm just going to build a little context here. This is historically part of a larger and much older culture war, all right? And so I'm not going to go too far off the grid into conspiracy theorists' favorite buzzwords, culture wars, info wars, and so on. But there is a history of hierarchical designation between social classes. And so what we want to take away here is recognizing that television was initially viewed as a kind of lowbrow entertainment. It was very middle class, and then over the decades after the newness wore on, let's say after the prices went down or mass adaptability, were able to buy into the television set, then it becomes perhaps viewed as even a lower middle class, if you will, type of programming strategy, type of content output, type of broadcasting norm. And then even today, we still have certain types of systems or tiers that segregate to an extent, okay? So the broadcast networks are the ones that are available for free, right? Free, I mean, we can use air quotes or not use air quotes, however you want to define that term. But the broadcast networks are made available if you by as little as through an antenna. All right, and we have those traditional antennas that have been replaced by digital antennas to pick up now the high definition signals. But those traditional broadcast networks and things like public access TV or public broadcasting system (PBS), these are relegated to what's socioeconomically the lower class. And then you have these tiers that we buy into, right? And so maybe you think of basic cable or satellite. Satellite used to be something to a kind of piece of a marker of class status, and now it's even more affordable than cable. Right, DirecTV and Dish and some of these, they're constantly trying to undersell as a business strategy. And there's some, we don't want to go off into the woods too far on this, but there is an important history to that. It's tied to culture. It's tied to economic status, and even something like, there's cable and then there's pay cable, right? So with pay cable, we're talking about the movie tiers, you know, your HBO's, Showtime, Cinemax, the movie channel, Stars, and so on. Okay, so these movie channel tiers, you pay extra. You pay extra monthly, and then beyond that, we have this onset, this advent of streaming channels. And streaming channels, there's a bit of an illusion here in that they come at the affordable price of $9.99 a month. Typically, I mean, that's the base cost, but there's some deviations, variations, and there will continue to be inflations at a marginal level every so often. But you have these types of products, these packages that feel much more affordable than cable. But in order to practice, right, the habit of regular streaming services, then you need cable. You need internet subscription. Okay, so you need Wi-Fi or a kind of broadband service, and so now once again we're talking about adding to things and deepening, right, the sort of monetary investments we must make in order to access this content. And content is an appropriate base word because it's not just entertainment. We get news from it, as some of us discussed this week. We get even educational information from it. Okay, and so that's one of these blurred lines that are important to discussing the ethics of digital literacy, is how much this information has become essential and actually can demarcate divisions and signal certain class subjugations. All right, so it's funny to think about something as remedial as television on those lines, but in actuality, there is a complicated history to the undergirding politics of not just who can afford TV, but also how we perceive people and what they can and can't afford, and what that does to us, and what, as a society. That was far more information than I think we were asking for. Okay,